Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here, the Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County, and I'm here on the thruway. I'm not driving. I'm pulled over at a rest stop on my way back from Albany. This is I'm doing another educational day up here, and I had a lot of great meetings, and that's what our commissioner in the car is about. We are talking about election legislation here that is going to, hopefully, we're going to try to get some of this election legislation passed before the end of session. But let me kind of explain what that is. For those of you who do not follow New York State politics very closely, or at least the mechanics of New York State politics, our legislature, though a full-time legislature, devotes the first half of the year to what they call session. And that is where they pass a variety of bills. All the bills that are passed in the first 6 months of the year. The session lasts from January to June, not July. If any legislators are watching this and heard me say July, I apologize. Because about June 9th is when session ends. And usually the first part of session is all about the budget up until April 1st. And then the second part of session is about getting the bills passed that they've been working on all year. But now with the late budget that happened, then we have a really truncated end of session. Again, today's May 9th. The end of session is scheduled for June 9th. That means there's about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, somewhere in between there, of days left to get all these bills passed that have not been passed. Although there's been a lot of bills passed over the last 3 months, but when it comes to election bills, there hasn't been a lot of bills passed by both houses, so we are now trying to get these passed. Now I do this on, these are my days off that I save up. Actually, well, I'm not going to go into it, but I don't necessarily have vacation at the Board of Elections. I've been deemed not to have vacation. I just spend the time that I need to get the job done. That's what the legislature did a few years ago when they froze our pay. But that being said, I still put in way more than 40 hours a week, even on weeks where I come up to Albany. Because I am the Democratic Caucus chair for all of New York State, for all of the Democratic commissioners, I spend a fair amount of time talking to legislators via Zoom and a few educational days where I come up to Albany and meet with people as well. This is my third or fourth day this year, and I'll be doing pretty much one every week starting today for the rest of May to get meetings with legislators and their staff about legislation that is hopefully going to be passed this session, and maybe legislation that might be passed in the future as well. So it's part of what I believe is my job as caucus chair, but also my job as elections commissioner in Onondaga County, because these election reforms that we're trying to get passed are going to help the local county board as well get resources and better laws to serve our voters better. So what are we trying to pass? Well, if you go on my social media page or at dustinzarni.com, you'll see that we issued a letter, here it is right here, that has our top 6 priorities for the end of session. We actually have a long list of legislative priorities. Some of those have bill numbers, some of them don't. Some of them were in the budget. And I've already covered what the budget has done for election boards, which is a fair amount. But what we've done is we've outlined our 6 top priorities. And you can go to my website, dustinzarni.com, and see that letter, because I do believe in transparency. But I will also share that with you here and kind of summarize the 6 bills that we're hoping to get passed before the end of session. One bill is called the Minimum Staffing Bill. And that is a bill that's already passed the Senate, and we're hoping the Assembly will pass it. And this establishes a bare minimum of staffing for the boards of elections throughout the state. This is a bipartisan, all of the priorities that we're highlighting are bipartisan. We're both the Democratic Caucus and Republican Caucus in a near unanimous vote supported at our January meeting for the full New York State Elections Commissioner Association. And this bill would raise the staffing in about 20 counties in New York that have not added enough staff to deal with all of the election reforms that are out there. This bill is based on what we already do with county health departments. And the county, the New York State election law says that boards, counties have to provide a proper allocation for county boards of elections to do their work, but it doesn't define what that proper allocation or staffing is. So we, we've come up with a formula, not we, Senator Mannion's bill, and Assemblywoman Hunter, both local legislators have come up with a formula that have, that ties to voter registration the bare minimum number of full-time staffers. And this is important because later this year, we're going to have online voter registration and automatic voter registration that will swell our voter rolls and give us even more work to do. So it's important to get this bill passed so we're ready for 2024 and beyond, and that the smaller counties that need help, or even a bigger county like Onondaga that needs a lot of help, will be able to get that in place and ready for their budget season, which is coming up. So we're hoping that this gets passed by the end of session. Another bill is to mandate full-time commissioners for elections boards. Those commissioners in about 16 counties are part-time, not our county, but in about 16 counties are part-time, and they only get paid part-time, but yet a lot of times they do full-time work. A lot of commissioners that have retired over the last few years from those jobs, it's hard to find people to replace them. And because the commissioners still do the number of hours needed to do the job, and they estimate, one commissioner told me that, she was part-time and she estimated she ended up getting paid $5 an hour for the amount of time that she had to put in to do all the work. So we believe all commissioners should be full-time. It's a full-time political calendar. We have elections in March with the village elections, May with school board, June with villages, June with our June primary, in November, and we have petitions in March and April. We have election inspector training in August and September to get ready for the November election. There's a ton of work done all throughout the year, and it's important to have elections commissioners there full time doing the work with their staff and getting things done. Another thing that we're pushing is 4-year terms for elections commissioners. This would, we believe there's a 4-year election cycle in New York, from presidential to presidential. And this will give an elections commissioner that is, doing the job a full 4 years to be judged on their merits, on how they perform their duties. It gets them away from the county parties a little bit and the county legislatures who are, they have to go before every 2 years right now in some counties. It's different in each county. And that's another thing. It brings parity. And again, all three of these bills, what they do is they make the Board of Elections a more viable career for more people, which maybe when we're recruiting, to replace the outgoing commissioners, we can get people that are not just looking to do part-time work at the end of their, or getting a pension bonus or anything like that. We need people that want to do this work for long-term, younger, and also people that are well qualified. And passing these 3 bills will make sure that happen. The next 3 bills that we're highlighting is a bill that would mandate non-student attendance day on election day for schools across New York State. Most schools already do this voluntarily, but there are some schools that do not have kids in class during election day. And in many areas, we have schools that are polling places, and they're the only building in those communities that can have a polling place because they're handicap accessible. This will make sure that the school superintendent day, that falls between the, usually last week or so of October, first week in November, is moved to a Tuesday. And again, most of the schools throughout the state already do this, but some schools opt out because they want a 3-day weekend. We feel like this is an artful way to not interrupt the education of the kids and have no security concerns with students not there, while also freeing up kids to be high school seniors to be election inspectors, and also giving uniformity throughout the state. It's something that we believe is very important. And then another bill, the last bill, another bill that was passed by the Elections Committee in the Senate today is vote centers. This is a permissible bill that allows county boards that have the technology and the ability to have vote centers on election day, like they do early voting. It allows them to do so. We're looking at doing that in Onondaga County somewhere around 2025. We have new voting equipment coming in this year, and we want to get a year of working it before we take that next step. But we plan on doing that if this bill is passed. It's a permissible bill. It's sponsored by our own Senator Rachel May. It was passed through the Election Law Committee in the Senate today, and we expect it passed by the Senate, and we're hopeful that it'll come up for a vote in the Assembly before the end of session. And then finally, the final bill is a bill that would change the way we do our mandatory hand count. Not to get too wonky on this, but I'm going to explain that when we hand count a close race at the end of an election, we do it for any race that is within 0.5%. We believe that 0.5% should be altered in the following ways. We believe that the limit for hand counting should go down to 0.25%, but then between 0.25% and 0.5%, instead of hand counting, we would do a secondary scan of a separate system to verify the machines are correct. This is important because there's a lot of races that we're hand counting that actually are not going to change leads. We have found over the last 2 years that the only ones that really change leads are the super close races. And we want to focus our energy on those super close races and our limited staffing power on those super close races, and allow us to do what we already do with our 3% audit and having that secondary scan to verify that the machines are correct. We believe that is a good standard, a little bit better than what we have now, and still provide assurances that the elections are fair and that we know who the correct winners are. So those are the 6 priorities that are out there. You can read that again at DustinZarni.com. I have this up on the NYSECA page on my website. I also have our full list of legislative priorities, as well as all of our support memos and all the bills that we support. We've supported about 20 bills, some of them brought to us by members that we think will make elections better, and some of those bills are moving through. So we're happy to support that when it happens. And again, all of our main priorities, the top 6 priorities, have bipartisan support amongst the elections commissioners. So we're hopeful that some of these will get passed, and we'll continue to push them until they do. So that's what's going on. That's all I have for Commissioner Nakar. This Thursday, I will be doing a Zarni seminar on absentee ballots. And why? Because absentee ballots for the June primary will be going out on Friday and over the weekend. So you will be talking about how to vote by absentee and how to request an absentee in 2023 for the primary and also the general election. So stay tuned for that. This week, the weekly wonk this week in North, I'll be doing the Village of North Syracuse up on the website right now. I already have the Village of Liverpool, and so check that out. And then finally, next week's on Commissioner Nakar, we'll be talking about absentee ballots going out for the June primary, and as those will be arriving in the mailboxes next week. So that's what I got going on. Again, next week I'll also be coming back from Albany, as I'll be up there, I think once a week for the next 4 weeks to try to get, until session ends at the end of June. So follow along, and I hope and if you're in favor of any of these bills, contact your state legislature and ask them not only to vote for these bills, but to become co-sponsors. That's very important for passage of the eventual bill, especially at the end of session. So think about that as well. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day. I'm going to get back on the road so I can get home and see my family. Bye-bye.